Okay, so this is my week one reflection for the reading that we got assigned. My first section is for Master Perry Instructs Chapter 1. One of the first things that caught my eye was the resource and self-contained services. So essentially, it's a type of teaching where students with disabilities will need more attention than others. So they will actually need to be taken out of the classroom in order to get that specific attention. And I haven't had much experience with it. I think in high school I actually took a class where I walked around with the student and just make sure that he went to his classroom and gave him the material that he actually needed that was adapted to his disability. And at the moment, I didn't even think about how it could make a student feel excluded. But now reading this, I can easily see how that can become a problem. So I think I will just have to make sure that if I'm ever in that situation with a student, I will just work to making sure that when they are in my classroom, they feel completely included and they do feel part of the class. And then it goes to my next subject, which was full inclusion. And full inclusion is it's sort of the opposite of self-contained services and resource. So in full inclusion, the student with disability is in the classroom at all times. It means that despite of their disability, the teacher who is there works with that disability in order for them to be staying there. And I guess I could see the differences and the advantages to both different systems, of both different types of teaching. I think I would just have to make sure that I'm aware of the student and the student's disability and just see what works better. Some students will have to have that one-on-one time, and some students will just need to be, be watched a little bit more in the general ed classroom. So I just think I have to be aware that not all students are the same, and just keep in mind that at all times. Teacher attitude is probably one of the things that really is something that I've always wanted to remember. So essentially, as a teacher, you have to stay positive despite the different things that may come up with maybe not having the administrative support that you want or even the parent support that you want. My one priority is the student, and I have to make sure that my attitude is always positive despite of the challenges in order for the student to get the appropriate support that they always need. So my mother, who has been working in the educational system for very, very many years and in the special education system, one of her biggest complaints is that, she doesn't feel like she has the support, and I can see how it affects her attitude. So I just want to make sure that I'm always aware that my attitude is what's important despite other people's attitudes. Moving on to the other reading that we have from the Zapata and Brooks book, chapter 1, system thinking. So system thinking, it incorporates 4 elements, which is relationships, communication, responsiveness, and sustainability. All of these are very, very important, and I have to make sure that that all 4 are working well. I mean, the relationships have to communicate, and we have to be aware of responsibilities in order for everything to be sustainable. So it's just important to keep this in mind, and especially in IEP team, some teachers are going to know more than others on different subjects. So we have to be aware of their knowledge and use that knowledge in order for the student to get the best support that they need. Triangle support includes 3 different areas, which is personal supports, curriculum accommodations and modifications, and instructional and assistive technology. Some students are going to need more than other on these different areas, and that's the one thing that I do want to remember. Some students are going to need more personal support, some students are just going to need more accommodations and modifications, and some students are just going to need instructional and assistive technology. Again, not all students are the same, so I'm going to have to be very aware that I know my students' disability and what they actually need and what the help that is going to be more appropriate to that disability. And universal design of learning. Now, I've had a lot of experience with UDLs. Well, some experience with UDL. I don't want to say a lot. Thanks to the classes that I've been taking, I've been able to create UDLs, and UDLs essentially, it just creates lessons and you look for things that might cause problems, and you are already aware of how you're going to accommodate or modify or change that part of the lesson depending on the student and the student's needs. So I like that because you're already preparing for different scenarios. Now, again, I haven't actually had to do this because I've never had my own classroom, but I think it's definitely given me experience, and it's helped me see like the flaws that might actually be in my lessons, and it even has helped me think about, okay, well, how can I just make this even more inclusive from the beginning, not later on in modifying or adapting, but just in the beginning, like how can this lesson be inclusive already from the start. So yeah, those are my reflections for this readings.